Welcome to Stoic Courage. Attraction speaks long before the first word is spoken. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's always there. In the shift of her body, in the silence between eye contact, in the way she lets closeness happen and doesn't pull away. Desire doesn't knock on the door. It slips through the cracks. In a glance, a touch, a hesitation. Most men miss it. Others chase it blindly. But the Stoic man sees it for what it is. Test of presence, not a call to pursue. Here are 10 signs of physical attraction, not to react, not to overthink, but to understand and stay rooted in who you are. 1. She touches you, lightly, repeatedly, with intent. Touch is one of the oldest ways to signal desire, not with words but with presence. A hand on the arm, a shoulder brushed, a playful nudge. It invites attention and watches how it's received. Most will take it as permission, but philosophy teaches restraint. Not every invitation needs a response. Not every signal needs action. The wise man sees clearly and remains unmoved until choice aligns with reason. Desire is not the enemy. Impulse is. 2. She stands closer than needed. Proximity is never neutral. In nature, closeness signals trust, and in attraction, it signals desire. When she chooses to close the gap, when there's space but she doesn't use it, that's not convenience, it's intent. Maybe it happens in conversation. She leans in, shoulder almost touching. Her feet point toward you. Her bag shifts, making room. Nothing is said, but something is happening. The undisciplined take it as a green light. They assume interest and act fast. But speed is not power. Awareness is. A Stoic approach doesn't ignore the moment. It sees it fully, then asks, what does this mean? And what does virtue require? Because not every invitation is meant to be accepted, and not every closeness deserves closeness in return. Control begins with space, holding it until presence, not impulse, decides the next step. 3. Her voice softens. Attraction doesn't always get louder. Sometimes it lowers itself, draws inward, and her voice becomes the first place it shifts. A woman who feels drawn will begin to speak in a different tone, softer, slower, as if every word was meant for one person, not the room. Volume drops, but the meaning deepens. This isn't just conversation, it's invitation. A softened voice is an unconscious signal. This moment feels safe. She's tuning the world out, hoping you'll tune in. But here's where many get it wrong. They confuse warmth for permission. They hear softness and rush in. But philosophy teaches, tone is not truth, and comfort is not commitment. A disciplined man doesn't fill the silence she offers. He lets it echo. He lets it test the space between words. And in doing so, he keeps the frame. Because the one who can hold silence holds power. 4. She licks her lips. It's subtle, a blink and miss gesture. But in attraction, nothing is meaningless. She's not hungry. She's not nervous. She's drawing attention to the one place she won't mention, her mouth. When interest becomes physical, the body begins to prepare. Not with words, but with instincts. The lips become part of the conversation, even when silence dominates the room. This is not seduction, not quite. It's a quiet shift in focus, a test of how closely you're watching and whether desire has power over you. The undisciplined respond with fantasy. They take one glance and run miles with it. But philosophy trains the mind to separate signal from meaning, to notice without narrating. So don't assume, don't chase, Just see. Because sometimes the power isn't in doing anything at all. It's in being the only one who sees the signal and doesn't move. 5. She invites you into her space. Space is sacred, especially the kind that people don't give easily. When she opens the seat beside her, when she shifts her posture to face you, when her body makes room before her words do. That isn't politeness, that's signal. Not every woman does this consciously, but the body speaks first, and when attraction turns physical, space becomes symbolic. What was once neutral becomes charged. But here's what matters. Being invited in doesn't mean you have to walk through the door. Just because space is offered doesn't mean it aligns with your direction. Stoic thinking says, access is not always opportunity, and proximity does not equal purpose. What defines strength isn't how close someone lets you come, but how centered you remain when closeness is no longer accidental. 6. She encourages you to keep talking, a nod, a lean forward, a quiet, "Really? Go on." Attraction doesn't always look like desire. Sometimes it looks like interest, focused, intent. Like every word spoken is being weighed carefully, and she wants more. This is subtle but strategic, because when a woman leans in, not with her body, but with her attention, most men give more than words. They start performing, trying to impress, trying to earn the gaze that's already been given. But the one who thinks clearly sees it differently. Just because someone listens intently doesn't mean you owe them the show. Attention is not currency, and you are not for sale. The Stoic mindset resists the urge to entertain. It speaks with intention, not insecurity. It shares without selling. Because the goal is not to hold attention, it's to remain worthy of it, even in silence. 7. Her smile lingers. Most smiles fade with the moment, but some stay longer, as if held back on purpose. And when attraction becomes personal, the smile changes. It's not the polite curve of lips. It's warmth behind the eyes. It's a moment that stretches, a delay that says, "I'm enjoying this more than I let on." Maybe she looks away, but the smile stays. Or it returns the second you look back. And suddenly, silence doesn't feel empty. It feels full. But this is where awareness matters most. Because a lingering smile is not a promise. It's not a guarantee of connection. It's just a window into her experience of the moment. And just like all windows, you can look through them without stepping inside. The mistake is assuming meaning where there is only energy. The stronger move is simply recognizing it and letting it pass like wind over water. No need to reach for it, no need to return it. Just be still. Let her wonder why you didn't move. 8. She shows visible enthusiasm. She lights up when you enter. Eyes brighten, voice lifts. A different energy enters the room. And it's not yours, it's hers, directed at you. She laughs harder, listens longer, finds ways to stay just a little closer than needed. This isn't subtle, it's real. And that's exactly where the trap is. Because excitement feels good. It validates. It tempts the ego to come alive, to match her pace, to entertain, to respond. But the Stoic mind doesn't meet emotion with emotion. It meets it with clarity. Just because she's happy to see you doesn't mean you should seek more of it. Joy is beautiful, but dependence on it is dangerous. So receive her enthusiasm with stillness. Let her shine without needing to reflect it. And remember, you are not here to be her source of joy, only to be unshaken in its presence. 9. She shows curiosity. She asks questions. Not small talk, real ones. Not what you do, but what drives you. Not where you've been, but what you believe. There's a light in her eyes when you speak, a quiet hunger not for your body, but for your mind. This kind of attention feels different, deeper, more personal. And when it happens, the average man misreads it. He assumes it means more than it does. But curiosity isn't always intimacy. Sometimes it's fascination. Sometimes projection. Sometimes it's her testing who you are, to see what you'll give away. That's why philosophy trains the mind to observe without assuming, to listen to the questions, but not let the answers shape your posture. You don't owe vulnerability to anyone who asks. True strength is not in how much you share, but in knowing what to hold back and why. 10. She tilts her head. It looks small, innocent, almost nothing. But in human behavior, the tilt of the head is one of the oldest signals of openness, of vulnerability, of attention without force. When she tilts slightly as you speak, exposing the neck, softening the gaze, holding just a little more space for what you're saying, it's not just listening, it's reception. But here's the paradox. The more subtle the signal, the easier it is to misread. It's tempting to interpret softness as invitation, to take vulnerability as approval. But the Stoic mindset demands precision, not in how we act, but in how we choose not to react. What looks like submission may be instinct. What feels intimate may be momentary, so we watch, we acknowledge. But we don't pursue shadows, because when stillness meets softness, something rare happens. Respect replaces urgency, and presence becomes enough. Desire doesn't need to be chased, it only needs to be understood. Not every signal requires action. Some just require presence. Stay aware, stay grounded, let attraction reveal itself, and let discipline decide what's worth moving toward. If this brought you clarity, like the video and subscribe for more content rooted in stillness, strength, and self-mastery. This is Stoic courage, clarity, stillness, strength,